Okay, so if you grew up anywhere near the Christian world, you've probably been fed stories about Jesus Christ since you were a kid. But it really begs the question, how well do we actually know history's most famous figure? Today, we're unraveling a massive mystery. We're going to look at how much of what we accept as fact is verified history, and how much is, well, just centuries of built-up tradition. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a strictly neutral, objective look at a life that completely shaped the world. We'll be cross-examining ancient biblical texts with ongoing scholarly debates to try and piece together reality. No taking sides here, just the facts, the texts, and the history. All right, so here is our roadmap for today's investigation. We'll be looking at 6 specific areas: the man behind the name, the inner circle, the missing writings, miracles or myths, challenging authority, and finally, a legacy of faith. Let's dive in. Part 1. The man behind the name, separating fact from tradition. Let's kick things off by looking at his actual physical presence in first century Galilee. I want you to consider the number 71 for a second. You see, the name Jesus comes from translating Yeshua into Greek and then English. And archaeologists have actually unearthed 71 different tombs bearing the name Yeshua from the exact period of his death. It really proves that, historically speaking, he was an everyday man with a ridiculously common name for his community. And speaking of being an everyday man, look at the stark contrast in how he's depicted. For centuries, art has shown Jesus with this seamless robe, long flowing hair, and a majestic beard. But historically, a Jewish man of that era would have actually had short hair and a neatly trimmed beard to strictly conform to the customs of the time. That iconic long-haired image you're thinking of didn't firmly establish itself until way later, like the 6th century. Interestingly enough, even the ancient scriptures support this historically grounded look. The prophet Isaiah, who is widely seen as predicting the Messiah, wrote, "He hath no form nor comeliness, and when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him." Essentially, the text itself suggests his physical appearance was remarkably average. He wasn't some glowing, ethereal figure standing out in a crowd. And this grounded reality totally extends to his family life too. It brilliantly illustrates that he wasn't isolated. He was a normal, integrated member of a bustling, working-class family. The Gospel of Matthew actually lists his mother Mary, who, according to the text, was told what to name him by the angel Gabriel, alongside his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, Judas, and unnamed sisters. He learned carpentry from his father, which was just the absolute standard custom for passing down survival skills back then. Part 2. The inner circle trust in a dangerous time. Now, Jesus absolutely knew his mission was incredibly dangerous. It required a tight circle of absolute trust. Just look at the widely different yet deeply devoted paths of 2 of his closest friends. On one hand, you have Peter, who bravely took the message to Rome and, according to tradition, was crucified upside down by Emperor Nero. And on the other hand, you've got John, a fisherman, a cousin, and the beloved disciple chosen to care for Mary. He actually lived to a natural old age. 2 completely different fates, but both bound by this unwavering loyalty. Part 3. The missing writings. Why didn't Jesus write a gospel? Okay, this is a massive historical puzzle. Why didn't a teacher with such a huge following ever write down his own teachings? We know from the New Testament that he was highly literate. He publicly read from the scroll of Isaiah. So where are his words? Major historical theories are all over the map. Some suggest they could have been stolen during his arrest. Others think they were actively seized and destroyed by authorities to crush his movement. Or, tantalizingly, maybe they were buried to protect them. And they're literally still out there, waiting in the desert sands. Part 4. Miracles or myths. Analyzing the divine. Let's impartially break down the supernatural claims, starting with a specific number, 30. Most historians and biblical scholars agree that Jesus waited until he was about 30 to begin his public ministry. And this wasn't just random. It actually aligns perfectly with strict Jewish customs found in the Book of Numbers, dictating that a man had to reach this age of maturity before taking on that kind of role. Basically, wisdom had to be earned. But before he stepped into the public eye, he went through this incredibly grueling spiritual preparation. First, he was baptized by his cousin, John the Baptist. Second, he retreated to the unforgiving desert to fast for 40 days and nights to strengthen his willpower. And third, he resisted the devil's temptations of food, worldly power, and divine rescue. It was just an intense physical and mental conditioning for the road he was about to take. Right after this preparation came his first recorded miracle at a wedding in Cana. The hosts were facing the massive embarrassment of running out of wine, right? So he instructed the servants to fill 6 massive 20 to 30-gallon stone jars with water, transforming it into top-quality wine. What's super interesting here is that he didn't boast about this publicly. It was performed quietly. It acted more like a profound team-building exercise to really cement his disciples' belief in him. But how do we interpret these events today? Was it literal, divine intervention? Was it exaggerated storytelling, maybe using herbal remedies that later got inflated into supernatural lore? Or could these have been stage theatrics, deliberately orchestrated to inspire a downtrodden public and bring morality back to Jerusalem? It's fascinating because both believers and skeptics offer entirely different yet compelling frameworks for this. Part 5. Challenging the authorities, disrupting the status quo. You see, Jesus wasn't just out there teaching peaceful parables. He actively threatened the established powers. He was absolutely furious that God's house was being used as a marketplace, so he violently overturned the tables of merchants right there in the Jewish temple. By physically driving out commerce, he struck directly at the financial and religious authority of the Pharisees, who were profiting from the whole operation. And he undermined them conceptually too. Take this famous quote, "God have mercy on me, a sinner." This comes from a parable where an arrogant Pharisee is boasting about his purity, while a despised Roman tax collector humbly begs for forgiveness. Jesus actually declared that the tax collector, a guy with arguably the most treacherous job in Palestine, was the one justified before God. He was quite literally flipping the moral hierarchy completely upside down. Part 6. A legacy of faith. The final impact. Naturally, all this disruption inevitably led to his death, and this is an event viewed through multiple historical lenses. The traditional biblical text says Judas betrayed him for a bribe of 30 silver coins. But there is a highly debated alternative historical theory that asks, did Jesus actively orchestrate his own martyrdom? Knowing he was marked for death, he might have engineered his own betrayal, correctly predicting that making the ultimate sacrifice would immortalize his message exponentially more than if he had just stayed alive. The sheer massive weight of his legacy is perfectly captured in what are believed to be the final scriptural words written about him in the book of Revelation. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. It's a profound declaration of enduring spiritual presence, and it remains a massive pillar of comfort for believers all over the world today. So, I'm going to leave you with this deeply provocative thought. We may never have total rational proof for every single historical claim made here. But honestly, does that lack of scientific proof truly matter when a single life has so profoundly shaped global human morality? Whether you view him as the literal Son of God, a brilliant historical rebel, or just a really powerful cultural symbol, his story undeniably continues to influence the world. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and remember to always keep questioning the history around you.